All right, so we've all been using Desmos as whiteboards and all that sort of stuff with blank whiteboards, and the kids can write and stuff like that. But sometimes you don't exactly know, do the students want a blank screen? Do they want a grid screen? Do they want axes? What do they want? And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to create like a components switcher so that students can choose exactly which kind of whiteboard they want to use. So let's get started. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to, I'm going to get my face out of the way. All right, I'm going to click on New Activity. And let's name this Component Selector. All right, and I'm going to click Create New Activity. Whoop, bam. Okay, and then, oh boy, what am I going to do? I'm going to bring in a note for the directions. I'm going to bring in a note for the supposed problem that the students are going to work on. I'm going to put in a math input. That's where the students are going to type in their answer. And then down below, I'm going to bring in, let's see, I'm going to bring in a sketch. I'm going to bring in another sketch. I'm going to bring in another sketch. And I'm going to bring in one last sketch. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sketches. All right, so here, choose the components you want to use. All right, over here is where the problem is going to go. So I am going to label that problem. And let's just put, I don't know, find, in this case, I'll just go straight in. I won't use any computation layer. Find the sum of 27 and 84. Good. All right. And then down here is where I like to put student input. No, I'm going to put math input. I'm not going to be using CL over here anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And now here is where the money is. Now you'll notice if I hit preview, I've got the problem. This is where the students are going to type in their answers. Here's the direction saying choose the components, and then I've got 4 components. All right. Now, right now, we have no way for the students to choose their components. So this is where the secret sauce is. I'm going to bring in a checkbox right there. And I'm going to bring that in, and I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to call this the chooser. I do need to name it. And then, let's see, I'm going to call this blank 1. I'm going to call this blank 2. And actually, yeah. And then this one, I don't want it to be blank. I want it to be a graph. All right, so I'm going to call this graph grid. I'm going to do grid 1. And then I'm going to open that graph. And I don't want the axes. I just want the grid. So I'm going to click on the wrench. I'm going to turn off the axes. And in fact, if I want to turn off the minor grid lines, I could, but I'm going to leave them on. And I am good to go there. And let's do this same thing here. So I'm going to call this grid 2. And I'm going to change the background to editable graph. And then I'm going to click on that edit graph and click on the wrench. And I'm going to turn off the axes and leave everything else as good. And I am done. All right. So now when I hit preview, I now have checkboxes waiting to happen. And I've got 2 blanks and I've got 2 grids. All right. And there's the problem still. So now let's get going with that checkbox option. So I'm going to do blank, another blank, and then I'll do grid and another grid. All right. So when I hit, I don't know if I have to hit return there, but when I hit preview, look at that. What? Bam. So now students can check these things, but right now nothing's happening. That's just showing you that the checkboxes are working. So here's the secret sauce. We're going to go inside the computation layer for each of these whiteboards, and we're going to type in a nice, beautiful code. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, and it's really super easy. It's hidden Now we're going to hide it when? We're going to hide it when it's not selected. All right. So I'm going to put not, and then is, I have to do chooser dot is selected. And then I need to insert a couple of parentheses there. Well, bam, right there. And you'll notice the error, like the error thing goes away when I type in 1. Now, what does this mean? So I had that checkbox choice called chooser. This blank is going to be hidden as long as number 1 is not selected. So what do I mean by number 1? This is number 1. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see all my, there. So this, as long as this is not selected, this guy is going to stay hidden. The moment this is selected, it will no longer be hidden. Now that's number 1. This is number 2. This is number 3. This is number 4. So all I have to go in is grab this and copy it all. And then I'm going to go down. This is number 2, so I'm going to paste it in, but erase the number 1 and replace it with the number 2. And I'm going to go down, paste this in, and replace the number 1 with the number 3. And then go down here, last one, paste and replace with the number 4. And then when I hit done, I'm going to click preview. Look at that. None of those grids, those whiteboards are showing up. But if I click this one, wha-bam, it shows up. If I click this one, it shows up. In fact, I can even choose 2 of them. Look at that. 1, 2. And now I can play a little bit with, and I'm going to zoom out here. I can play a little bit with the layout because right now, all of these are showing up right here in the column, right there. So what I can do is I can get a little bit creative and I could say, let's do white on the left, white on the right, grid on the left, grid on the right. And now when I hit preview, I could say, well, if I want 2 blanks, they show up right there. If I want to hide those, I could do 2 grids right there. And then if I want a blank and a grid, I can make that. So we could do a little bit of customization, and I could do this grid and that white. So we get a little bit of customization, and there it is. Teachers, we're just trying to customize and personalize the learning experience, and you could do that with computation layer. Really easy to create students, the space for students to be in control. What kind of components do they want to use in order to show their work?